Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's extra special webinar. Now, my name is Sana, and I work with Galvanize. Considering this webinar is all about GRE vocab, we thought we'd make it a little fun, right? Raise the stakes a little bit. So we will be playing a very short clip right now from a movie that maybe some of you are familiar with, V for Vendetta. Now, the idea is you watch the video, and at the end, we will ask you to summarize what you understood from what you heard, right? So right now, all you need to know is you need to pay attention to the video and try your best to summarize what you hear in the video. So before Siddharth starts, I'm going to play the video for you.
I can assure you I mean you no harm.
Who are you?
Who? Who is but the form following the function of what, and what I am is a man in a mask.
Well, I can see that.
Of course you can. I'm not questioning your powers of observation. I'm merely remarking upon the paradox of asking a masked man who he is.
Oh, right.
But on this most auspicious of nights, permit me then, in lieu of the more commonplace sobriquet, to suggest the character of this dramatis persona. Voila! In view, a humble vaudevillian veteran, cast vicariously as both victim and villain by the vicissitudes of fate. This visage, no mere veneer of vanity, is a vestige of the vox populi, now vacant, vanished. However, this valorous visitation of a bygone vexation stands vivified, and has vowed to vanquish these venal and virulent vermin, vanguarding vice and vouchsafing the violently vicious and voracious violation of volition. The only verdict is vengeance, a vendetta, held as a votive not in vain, for the value and veracity of such shall one day vindicate the vigilant and the virtuous. Verily, this vichyssoise of verbiage veers most verbose, so let me simply add that it's my very good honor to meet you, and you may call me V.
Are you like a crazy person?
I'm quite sure they will say so. But to whom, might I ask, am I speaking?
I'm Evie.
Evie? Evie. Of course you are.
What does that mean?
It means that I, like God, do not play with dice and do not believe in coincidence. Are you hurt?
No, I'm fine. Thanks to you.
Oh, I merely played my part. But tell me, do you enjoy music, Evie?
I suppose.
Okay, guys, so that was the video that we were talking about. I hope all of you were able to watch and listen to what was being said. But don't worry, if for some reason you weren't able to, we have added a link to the video in the PPT that we will share with you towards the end of the webinar. We will also send it to you in your chat boxes, right? So very simple. All you need to do is listen to what's being said, summarize, and at the end of that, if you get it right, we will be giving you really special rewards. So I think that's it from my end. I'll hand over to Siddharth now, and you guys can get started.
Okay guys, good evening. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. So from V for Vendetta, we'll come back to V for Vocabulary. So yeah, so I hope the video was really, I guess the video is really overwhelming. They've liberally loaded with a lot of GRE level words, right? So don't worry if you don't know the meanings of it. The task doesn't assume that you know the meanings of it already. You can always use a dictionary and come back to it. So that's your post exercise. Okay. So let's. By the way, what you heard was an illustration of alliteration. Okay. So alliteration is this phenomenon of occurrence of the same letter or sound at the beginning of a series of words. So you must have noticed that all of the words began with the letter V, the sound V. Okay. So yeah, that's one word that we learned now. So if you happen to pay attention, by the end of this webinar, you will realize that you would have learned at least 20 to 25 odd words from the webinar. Okay. So let's get to the business. So there are several strategies to learn new words, but due to the time constraint, I'll be only talking about 3 different strategies, which are I find personally effective in the sense by using some of these strategies, I was able to pick up vocabulary in less than like an year. Okay, so the other caveat is the warning or the word of caution would be: don't try to find shortcuts to learn new words, because remembering words for a long time is a skill that needs to be acquired. Because if you happen to find shortcuts, you'll only remember it for a short period of time, and I'm not sure if you'll remember it by the time of exam. Okay, so that's one caution. So to avoid that, I'm coming up with 3 strategies that will cement the word in your mind. Okay, so we'll talk about the first strategy now, which is called word association, or in other words, it's called mnemonics. So it's basically a system of using patterns or ideas or association which assists in remembering something. Okay, it can be anything. So you can be as crazy, you can get as crazy as possible, you can be really creative in the process. Okay, and this all mnemonics also involves the process of constructing sentences using new words. So you can construct your own sentences using these words. Okay, so I'll give you a couple of examples of how to use mnemonics and how crazy it can get. Okay, okay, can I move on? Is everybody with me on this? Can someone use the chat box to acknowledge? So let's look at how you need to build, how we need to use word associations and all that. For example, let's take this word ebullient. So if you can look at the letters in the red, you notice that it's a word, or in its own right, a word bull. So for me, it's a personal word association. For me, when I look at bull, I think of Red Bull. Okay, and you remember the caption of Red Bull, it says Red Bull gives you wings. So what does it mean when Red Bull says Red Bull gives you wings? Which it means that you become more energetic, you'll get more energy. Okay, so try to bring such connections. So when Red Bull means more energy, mean becoming more energetic, ebullient has the word has the sound bull in it. So ebullient also means energetic and cheerful. So you can use sentences like she sounded ebullient and happy on the phone, which means that she's sounded really energetic and she sounded really happy over the call. So these are some crazy connections we can draw between words and real-time things. So one thing you need to remember is nobody will judge you on the kind of association you come up with. Okay, at the end of the point of this exercise is to remember the word for a long time. So now I hope whenever you see ebullient, you'll immediately connect it to Red Bull, and I'm sure everybody knows Red Bull. Okay, so I'll show you another example of how to creatively come up with word association. So then there is this other word, nebulous. So nebulous meaning is indistinct and unclear. So how are we going to remember this word? So if you remember the meaning of nebula from our 5th class, 6th class physics or science. Nebula is a cloud of gas or dust in space appearing either bright or dark. So which means if someone is standing behind the cloud, you can only see the silhouette of that person, right? Silhouette means the outer shape. That's the lines, the contours of the person. So behind the clouds will obstruct the view and it will only give you the rough picture of it, but the image is never clear. Okay, so you can associate something with that not being clear. Okay, so nebulous means indistinct and clear, which can be associated with the meaning of nebula being a cloud or dust. Yeah, cloud of dust or dust in space. Okay, so for example, a sentence can be cloud computing is a nebulous concept. So cloud computing, if you notice the pun there, covering a range of ideas. So cloud computing is a nebulous concept. What does it mean? It's a concept that is hard to understand, which is unclear to a lot of people. Okay, so you can use these crazy things to associate meanings and their words. Okay, so I can give you another example of mnemonics so that you will get a better idea of. So something more complex, obsequious. Okay, so the meaning is obedient and submissive. So how are you going to remember? So this does not have immediate visual or audio connection. But if you break this word into two parts, obsi and quos, okay, this is, I'm not breaking it by syllables or anything. I'm breaking this word according to my convenience. Okay, so obsequious, I'm associating the sound obsi with obsession. I'm sure obsession is a more familiar word than obsequious. That is why I'm associating obsi with obsession. And quos, ignore the ka part of it, and the IOUS ending associated with yes. Now look at the word as obsession, obsessed with saying yes. Okay, so someone who is obsequious is a person who is obsessed with saying yes, which means he's like a yes man. Okay, a sentence like can be the president was served by several obsequious waiters, which means he is obsequious. So what kind of waiters are these people? So these waiters are someone who are ready to say yes to everything the president says, and they'll bow down before the president. Okay, so these are, if you notice, mnemonics does not have pattern. Okay, word associations don't have patterns, so I can draw some crazy connections. I can be as creative as possible to get to the meaning. Again, remember, the end goal is to remember the meaning, not to have a really structured way of getting the meaning. You can be as crazy as possible. You can invent new things in the process. Okay, is it clear? Can I go to the second strategy that I've put forth? So next strategy is to learn words through their roots. Okay, here it's a slightly more complicated and requires some understanding of affixes upfront, because it requires, you need to have that knowledge of the function of affixes before you work on this, before you use this process. For example, I'm sure most of you are aware of basic affixes like pre, which means before, un or anti, sorry, that suggest opposite, and dis, something like this will suggest opposite. So that's why you need to have a good understanding of the function of affixes. So I mentioned here pre, which means earlier, before, in front of, which can be seen in prediction. Prediction means a statement foretelling the future. Can you see how the affix is playing a role here in the word, which is you're telling something beforehand, which is basically prediction. And if you notice the dis or di affix, it can mean apart or away, not to the opposite, anything. So for example, if you notice the word digression, a departure from the main issue, can you see how di captures the essence of going away or deviating? Okay, in fact, a simpler example would be disappear, appear, disappear. So before you use the root method, I think you need to have a solid understanding of each of these affixes. So I mentioned only a few of the affixes here. I can't obviously mention all the affixes that exist in English. Please see to it. So bi, for example, two, twice, once in every two, it suggests that two thing. So that, which is why binoculars is a thing. Okay, optical device with two lenses. Suppose you have only one lens and there's an optical device, you can call it monoculars. So the function of mono being one. Okay, is that clear to everyone? Bilateral, I think, is a familiar example which involves two sides. So if it involves only one side, it can be called as the word can be unilateral. Similarly, trilateral, where tri suggests three. So if you have a good understanding of affixes, I think it will be a cakewalk for you to remember the roots and use. Now let us look at. So once you have a solid understanding of affixes, you need to build a lot of word webs. Okay, how do you build word webs? So for example, you can take the root anim, and anim stands for life, mind, or soul. Okay, so look at how words are associated with anim. For example, the first word that comes to my mind when I think of anim is animal itself. So why do we call something animal? Some animal is something that has life. Humans are also animals, social animal. So remember how basic that is. Okay, animal, anim, life, mind, and soul. Look at how other words are built. If you notice the right side word starting from animate. So when do we use animate? Animate is you know the process of animation in computers, right? You give life to the inanimate objects. For the same reason, we are using the word inanimate. Okay, something that does not have life. So these cotton characters on your computer, they don't have life. So by performing animation, you're giving them life. Okay, see, in simple words, these roots are there. So if you can make this connection in bigger words, it will be easier for you. For example, equanimity. So equa means balance or something. So add equa plus anim, which gives you equanimity, which means someone who is balanced, or it means composure. Okay, this equanimity refers to composure. Same thing. If you take magna means mega means big. If you add that to anim, you'll get the word magnanimity, which means someone who has a big soul. If someone has a big soul, he is likely to be more generous. Generous being kind-hearted. So magnanimity is connected. It means basically some really generous generosity. Okay. So if someone is a magnanimous person, he donates a lot. He helps people and all that. Okay. So look at pusillanimous. Pusillus actually means lack of something or having very little of something. Okay, if someone does not have if something or someone does not have enough life, mind, or soul or energy to it, they lack the courage. Okay, they lack the spirit. So pusillanimous refers to lack of courage. Okay, so can you see how the web is building? Okay, from there you can take off different paths. So each word will take you to a different path, and you'll end up with a different word altogether. So by this, using this method, you can have a solid network of words where it's easier for you to remember the meaning through the roots instead of remembering the meaning in entirety. I hope you found that useful. Okay, so coming back to our strategies. So the last strategy that I mentioned for today's webinar is the story method. So in this story method, there are two advantages. One is that you get to be more creative, and number two is that you get to practice writing. Okay. So basically, in this method, just select 10 to 15 words in a day and cook up a story using those words. And the story can literally be about anything under the sun. It doesn't have to be an actual story. It can literally be anything. Okay, don't worry about it. So right now I picked 5 words: intriguing, insipid, ravenous, palatable, and stable. Okay. So I'm going to show you a short story of sorts. Not necessarily, this is not something I cooked up. It's there already. Okay. It actually happened. So it's one of the most intriguing stories. So intriguing, extremely interesting. So Sandwich is a rustic town in England. Rustic means rural. Okay. In 1762, John Montagu, the fourth Earl, was playing cards. So who's Earl? Earl is someone who has a good stature in a noble family, a high-ranking member of a noble family. Okay, so he was quite hedonist and bon vivant. Okay, which means this guy likes to have fun all the time, and he'd like to lead a luxurious life. Okay, he was ravenous, very hungry guy. Okay, but didn't want to leave the table. So he's hungry, but he doesn't want to leave the table. He ordered a waiter to bring roasted meat, kept between 2 slices of bread. Okay, he thought that would be insipid, but it turned out to be palatable. So this guy asked for some roasted meat, and he wanted the server to put it in between 2 slices of bread. And initially, he thought this would be very bland, insipid. Okay, but surprisingly, it tasted really good, pleasant taste. It was palatable. Okay, since then it has become a staple food, used needed food for millions across the globe. And by now, I think you know the origin of the word sandwich, right? So this Earl of Sandwich gave us sandwich. Yeah. So another fun fact is that these words are called eponymous words. Okay. Uh, so words that come from a person's name or thing's name. They call that. That's a fun fact. So if you look at it, you'll practice. If you look at this method, you'll practice writing, and you'll end up remembering the words for a long time, because to use that word you will do some research, correct? You will learn some usages of these words. You'll get to know the primary, secondary usage of this word, and you get to learn this word with a lot of context, and this context will help you remember this word for a long time. Okay, so that's the story method. I hope you will find it really useful. Okay, in both in terms of writing and building vocabulary. Okay, and then some tips from my side, like I already mentioned, cramming, learning all the words just before the exam has never been effective with vocabulary. Nobody has ever told me that they were successful in learning all like thousands of words in the last 1 month or 2 months before the exam. Okay, don't try to do that. So with learning new words, try to have a long term plan, a decent 3 to 4 months plan. Okay, I'm saying this because I want you to remember the words for a long time. You should take it and use it in your everyday life. Okay, so short term memory, it works. Okay, if you cram learn all of them at once, short term memory, it works. But people who have this chance to learn them over a decent period of time, I think you should take it slowly. Okay, and consistency is really important. Don't learn 30 words on one day, take a break for a couple of weeks, and then learn 50 words on a different day. Don't do that. If you're learning 50 words in a week, learn 8 to 10 per day. Okay, that's more important. Learning them every day and trying to be consistent. That's the point here. Okay, and don't worry about the spelling and the pronunciation a lot. Don't waste your time on looking for the right pronunciation. It doesn't matter at the end of the day. If you the ability to use the word in the right context matters more than the spelling or the absolutely correct pronunciation of that word. Okay, I hope you don't waste a lot of time on mastering the spelling and pronunciation. While it's important to pronounce it in the right manner, but it's not altogether important. Okay, but in the sense important for the exam. So read a lot of, expose yourself to a lot of good quality material with online. Um, there are several online resources available. Go sign up for New York Times newsletter, Boston Globe, Washington Post. So you'll say instead of substandard material, if you read articles or essays from these uh, publications, I think it will be a lot more helpful. Okay, and also find ways to use these words that you learn in everyday situations rather than using them only when you're preparing for GRE. So don't worry about your friends teasing you. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you're giving your exam and you need to score well. Okay, so only if you imbibe these words into your everyday diction, only then I think it'll be easy for you. Okay, for the exam. And before looking up for a meaning of a word in the dictionary, always try to guess the meaning of the word. Use something. Use the root method basically to arrive at a rough meaning. It's not like you'll be able to crack the meaning exactly, but try to, so that this is an exercise for your brain. So your brain will always constantly be looking for meanings from the roots. So it's more like a exercise for the brain. So always try to do that. All right. So that's again. So here is the thing. So we showed you the video in the before the beginning of webinar. So you can again watch that video and try to summarize the meaning in your own words and post it. And if you get it right, you'll have good will give you good offers. Okay, I'm sure there are several summaries available online. Please don't copy from it. We will know if you do it. Okay, so basically we're asking you to look up for the meaning of each of these words and try to simplify and give a summary of the entire uh, monologue. Okay, I hope you'll find these strategies useful. And it's question time. Please post your questions so that I can help you with the process. Please type your questions in the chat box. So Kshitraj Rajaram Patil asked, ideally, how many words should we learn? So our GRE vocab app has around 1800 words. So I would put it as 1000 words, but you can never really get the number right. Okay. How can I choose a word for vocabulary? Raja Kartikeyan says, how can I choose a word for vocabulary? So can you rephrase the question, Raja Kartikeyan? I'm not sure I understood the question. Hasibul Haq has a question, and I think course manager is the right person to answer that. She'll get in touch with you soon. So Raja Kartikeyan, I would recommend you to download the Galvanize vocab app, and I think there's a structure to it. You can follow the instructions in the Galvanize vocab app, and you can use it. I hope that answers your question. So that's it from my end. If you have any questions, you can get in touch with us using the web app chat. Okay. Sorry. Before closing, and Vivek Bulani says, which method among the above three methods which is more useful and efficient? All the three methods are equally efficient, but it depends on your ability to spend time, right? If you have a lot of time, I think I would say the story method is really helpful. If you don't have a lot of time, I think you should go with the root method or the mnemonics. Okay. That's Shivani Babre says, how can I download the vocab app? Just go to the Android. If you're using an Android phone, go to the Android Play Store and type GRE vocabulary, and the first app is ours, and our app is the highest rated app on Android. So I'm sharing the link to that now. Okay, if you can click on this link and download the app. Okay.
Okay, guys, I see a lot of questions here about using the Galvanize app. It's very simple. Just use the link that we've sent to you in your chat boxes and simply download. There is no sign up fee, nothing required. You will have to sign up to personalize your experience, but that's about it. And like I said, the instructions are very simple, very straightforward. Once you download the app, I'm sure you'll find it very, very easy to use, right? So I hope that answers all of your questions about the app. Now, we are winding up, so thank you so much to all of our attendees that came today. But more importantly, thank you so much to Siddharth for taking the time off to do the webinar. If any of you have any follow-up questions that you would still like to ask, simply email us. I will put the contact details up on the screen in just about a second. So use any of the details that you see on your screen right now to get in touch with us. Alternatively, you can chat with us on our website. I'm sure all of you have the link. And once again, guys, don't forget we do have a little quiz running on our Facebook page right now. So if you do manage to get the answer to that right, you will win greater rewards. So that's it for today. Thank you for everybody. Thank you to everybody that came out. And if there's nothing else, this is Galvanize signing out.